Hi, and welcome to our podcast, Conversations with B'nai B'rith. I'm CEO Dan Mariaschin. My interview today is with Dr. Talia Cohen Solal, who takes us into the world of cutting-edge medical solutions, AI in healthcare and its potential to revolutionize drug discovery, and a promising new Alzheimer's treatment. But first, if you enjoy this program, subscribe to Conversations with B'nai B'rith wherever you get your podcasts, and leave us a rating. And you can also subscribe to our YouTube channel and like us on Facebook for all of our latest content. Artificial intelligence, or AI, is poised to revolutionize many sectors, with healthcare arguably at the forefront of transformation. As more data feeds into AI models, the more helpful the technology will become. Today, I have the privilege of speaking with an innovator and a pioneer in precision medicine, a field largely reliant on this new era of health tech. Dr. Talia Cohen Solal, co-founder and CEO of Israeli health tech firm NeuroKaire, formerly known as Genetika, joins us to discuss how her company combines cutting-edge stem cell technology with AI software to match drugs to patients. We'll also explore the company's collaboration with neuroscience on a promising new Alzheimer's treatment. Dr. Talia Cohen Solal, alongside Dr. Daphna Laifenfeld, founded the company then known as Genetika in 2018, born out of the work both were doing while working on their postdoctoral studies at Columbia University and Harvard University on mental illness and understanding the causes of brain diseases. She's currently the CEO of NeuroKaire, received an MA in neuroscience from Oxford University, a PhD from University College London, working on the underlying mechanisms of schizophrenia, and then completed her fellowship at Columbia University, developing translational tools for mental illness. During her career, she has raised funds for her research and innovation through 8 grants and 3 venture capital-backed funding rounds, totaling $25 million in funding, published 10 academic papers, and filed 3 patents, all in the field of neuroscience. Dr. Cohen Solal, thank you for being here today with us.
Thank you for this wonderful opportunity.
You've achieved remarkable success as a co-founder and CEO of NeuroKaire, formerly Genetika. Can you share with us your journey and your expertise, and what inspired you to start Genetika, now NeuroKaire, and what goals, general or more specific, did you set out to achieve along the way?
Those are some great questions. So I was working at Columbia University as a postdoctoral researcher, working on these brain models of disease, learning how diseases might be occurring by generating neurons from from a number of patients who were suffering from very familial forms of psychiatric illness. And I was basically building a personalized model of disease to help understand disease mechanisms. And I saw that we were creating a technology that was getting more scalable, faster, slowly with time, and that there was a turning point that might be coming soon that would allow us to bring this type of approach that I was doing for pure academic research to the clinic, and basically bring a technology from bench to bedside. So I was very excited by that opportunity in my head. And I was in academia, and I didn't know too much about the world of industry. So the first thing I did was I joined a startup, another startup, to learn the ropes, to understand what goes on in industry, and to understand how different the world of academia was to industry. So at that point in my career, I joined a precision medicine startup out in Minneapolis, working in the field of epilepsy. And I was able to see firsthand how to bring interesting academic technologies to patient lives. And actually, in the time that I was with that company, we were able to bring the first therapy to a child with a early onset epilepsy, a rare genetic disease. And we were able to improve that child's life. Very meaningful moment and turning point in my career, where I saw we could make a difference in my lifetime as opposed to through academic papers and in an unknown period of time. So I was very excited by that opportunity.
You chose brain science as a field, and you could have chosen, I'm sure, many other possibilities. Why? What was it about brain science really that attracted you?
Yeah, I think the brain is the most fascinating organ. It's the most mysterious organ. We understand it the least. And when we start to probe it, we understand the beauty and magic that it is to be able to create thought, store memory, function, breathe. Everything is controlled by this organ, and all the most complex and interesting characteristics of animals that are humans. And so I was very, very drawn to understanding more about how we function as human beings and all animals, how they function in these sophisticated ways. And I'm very, very happy about that choice. From the age of 18, I knew this was what I wanted to study.
Wow. So from what I understand, matching a patient with an appropriate drug is quite difficult. How does NeuroKaire incorporate AI, or artificial intelligence, into the process of aligning patients with effective, personalized medicine?
Wonderful question. So there is a lot of data that we have been able to generate. When you create, what we do is from every patient, we create our brains in a dish using stem cell technology, and then we expose those neurons to all the different antidepressants. And neurons and use AI to rank which antidepressant is best for each patient. We also collect genetic data for a patient. So what their genetic background is, how they process drugs in the liver, all sorts of information. And patient history data. How does a patient sleep at night? How much are they able to leave the house? What other medications are they on? This is far too much data for us to, manually test every permutation, to manually try and identify what signals make us able to predict which drug a patient's going to respond to. So that's where we bring AI in. We have so much information, and we're able to see which signals correspond best to drug response in existing patient cohorts and existing groups of patients that we've developed our platform on. And then once we've created those signals using AI, we then can apply them in new sets of patients to identify and predict which drugs they will respond to in real life.
So is that what makes NeuroKare's process unique in terms of how you are proceeding to get to that goal?
We're unique in two fronts. One is our sophisticated AI we use to integrate the myriad of data that a human can generate to predict treatment response. And the brain in a dish technology is also a very novel technique to be bringing into clinical practice.
And where is NeuroKaire headquartered? And is that where you do most of your clinical work?
So we are headquartered in Tel Aviv. I moved to Tel Aviv. I moved to Israel in 2017, started Genetika Plus in 2018. And we have our R&D center here. And we've done most of our R&D here. And we are now commercializing in our clinical labs in Kearney, New Jersey. So we do have a large site in Kearney for clinical processing of clinical tests for patients.
Well, New Jersey's always had that reputation for being the headquarters of a number of pharmaceutical companies. So I guess that made a lot of good sense. But what makes Israel, I'm not asking a rhetorical question, I think I know the answer, but I'm going to ask it anyway. What makes Israel such a special place to launch a tech company, especially one making critical, cutting-edge medical advancements?
It's a miraculous place to start a biotech company and a tech company, full stop. When I moved to Israel, and I still had this idea up my sleeve, and I had some experience in industry, I saw many things about the environment that made it encouraging as a place to do this. First of all, it's a culture that rewards risk-taking. I knew that if I took these risks, people would respect me, and it would help build a future career. And in England, I feel like that's not necessarily the culture. And second of all, the network is incredible between people. There are people always trying to help you out, trying to help you get that first foot up the ladder. The ecosystem is its asset. The life sciences knowledge. There are more PhDs here, I think, per capita than nearly any other country in the world. And there's a tikkun olam value that brings people into life sciences. So there are a large number of PhDs in the life sciences, which is important for our clinical development, and just high quality people who want to be in healthcare. be it from academia or from industry. So that it helps with that element. And finally, we have shown the world here that Israel is an innovation capital. So by the time I arrived, there were accelerators and incubators everywhere you turned. There was funding because the rest of the world had woken up and was ready to invest in Israel. So it was an amazing place to be able to start a company. Amazing time and amazing place.
Well, I'm not a tech person by nature at all, but I certainly feel that energy in Israel. No, I'm not doing innovation type projects, but you feel that very positive energy that's out there. So what you've just said really comports with what I have seen and what I've experienced. How does the growth potential of NeuroKaire represent an opportunity for you to pursue other medical solutions?
So NeuroKaire has developed a precision medicine platform for the brain. Our first indication happens to have been in the depression market. This is a market that made sense when we had to choose a single area. But our platform is fully adaptable and has breadth across multiple disease indications. So we've already entered into schizophrenia. We have clinical trials in this space. And we also have clinical work and partnerships in the Alzheimer's space. We also hope to enter ADHD quite soon. And our platform is very much able to adapt to other brain disorders and help many people across many modalities.
Well, let's pivot now to your exciting partnership with Neuroscience Therapeutics in the development of a groundbreaking Alzheimer's drug. But before we delve into that, could you shed some light on your company's initiatives to revolutionize treatment for depression and other neurological conditions? You just alluded to it. I noticed the emphasis on precision on NeuroKaire's website. Elaborate on how your team achieves that level of precision. It means some things to some people and to others something else. And I'm intrigued by the concept of a brain in a dish. Can you walk us through what that entails?
Absolutely. So when treating a patient for depression, other psychiatric disorders, a physician has to choose from multiple different drugs. And in depression, there are around 70 different antidepressants and drugs that the doctor has to choose between. And a patient, unfortunately, often doesn't respond. 63% of people won't respond to their first medication. And then they start switching every 4 to 8 weeks through one drug after another. And this period of trial and error testing takes months to years of the patient's lives, or even their lives, as they search for the best treatment for them. They lose their life place. They sometimes lose relationships with their families, their jobs. We urgently need to get each patient to the right drug for them as soon as possible. So that's the precision. We want to get the right patient to their drug. So how do we do that? Well, we've developed a blood test where from every patient sample, just like a regular blood draw you might get at any lab, we develop a brain in a dish platform. So we take the blood cells, we convert them to stem cells, which is being done in many different areas, and then generate neurons for every patient. So then we have a mini model of the patient. Don't worry, this is absolutely safe and not reintroduced. And then we can expose this brain in a dish to all the different antidepressants. We look at the connectivity between neurons. We can see how the neurons are rescued by the different antidepressants and rank which antidepressant has the strongest impact for each patient. We then combine this information with the patient's genetics, which mostly focuses on liver processing genes. So for that patient, are they going to be able to get that drug through the liver to the brain? And patient history. So for example, if you are an insomniac, we don't want that patient to not be able to sleep on a medication, to be a more alert medication. If they can't wake up in the morning, we need the opposite. So through all of that information, we create a simple report for the physician recommending the drug for that patient. And this is truly personalized medicine, truly precision medicine, bringing the right drug to the right patient, saving lives, saving time, and saving costs.
So let's get back to Alzheimer's and the treatment that you were working on. It marks a significant departure in research focus and methodology, and you've just gone through some of your methodology. How can this is an issue that so many people talk about, and so many families are affected by, and so many people, and it's kind of the great unknown for many people. What can you tell us about the field, the problem, the field, and the ultimate cure?
So yeah, far too many people are suffering from Alzheimer's, and this number is just increasing every single year. We have had new drugs introduced to the market. It's been very exciting, these biological drugs. It's been a bit of a disappointment how successful they've been and how early you need to be trying to introduce these to the patients' lives. Often people miss this opportunity. Sometimes they can't get access to these drugs. It hasn't been the holy grail that people hoped it would be in the field. So we still need to find more drugs. And as I've alluded to, not every drug is going to be right for every patient. Alzheimer's is a heterogeneous disease as well. Different people are manifesting their symptoms through different underlying causes as well. So we need more drugs available to patients so that they can get the right drug for them and it can have the strongest impact. And also that drugs that can work at different time points in the disease progression, halting it or ideally even reversing it. We're obviously not there on any mechanisms of reversal yet, but bringing more drugs to the market is much needed in the space of Alzheimer's.
And how are the trials set up for what you're working on at the Stroke and Cognition Institute in Haifa? Is this the initial administration of Prime C, and tell us about Prime C, to patients, or has that been previously administered elsewhere?
So the Prime C has previously been administered for its first indication, which was ALS, amyloid lateral sclerosis. It's a motor neuron-based disease, and it's well known that there's a lot of inflammation that's underlying that disease, and so the Prime C drug, which is a formulation of two unique doses of FDA-approved drugs, ciprofloxacin and celecoxib. This is an antibiotic and an anti-inflammatory combined, is what they were using in those clinical trials. So they have taken these clinical trials into phase 2 clinical trials, seen excellent results from these. I believe it's around 37% improvement against the placebo control in this case. This is really exciting for that field. But we also have some of these markers being indicated in Alzheimer's disease, and the anti-inflammatory effects and the antibiotic effects both have a logical reason to be protective of the progressive decline in Alzheimer's disease. So it was a natural progression to take these two compounds and bring them into the Alzheimer's space. I mean, it's not my company, so I can only speak on their behalf, but I understand this is the way that they came to this. And it's also important to note that these are two FDA-approved drugs, so they have been through multiple clinical trials in phase 3, etc. So it's nice to be able to bring something that is going to be safe to these patients, which has, in some other of the newer drugs, it's a bit more unknown. So it's nice that potentially we could bring neuroscience together with our platform, could bring something very safe to the patient's lives that could have a major impact.
So to recap, neuroscience has created Prime C, largely for ALS, but there seem to be some indicators that Prime C together with something else perhaps can be applied to Alzheimer's?
So Prime C is the combination of those two drugs, as I described. So Prime C is being directly applied to a new indication, this indication being Alzheimer's. The Prime C targets, they think it's a multi-targeted strategy addressing A-beta aggregation, which we're all familiar with, and TDP-43, which is also a known challenge in Alzheimer's, and other pathologies. So they have mechanistic reason to go into Alzheimer's as their second indication. And we happen to have a model that can be applied to the Alzheimer's indication, and we've been developing that so that we can partner with them to help them bring this drug to the market in different ways.
So what you're doing, I'm sure, has attracted a great deal of interest in the medical field, and I would assume on the investor side as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, so we've got a lot of support from our investors, and they as well, and they're publicly listed, and there's excitement from our investors and theirs in response to this partnership. Obviously, for us to be able to help a new indication and to help expand into the Alzheimer's space, much needed to bring precision medicine into drug design to make sure that we don't miss a drug that could help a subset of the population, for example, or a drug that could help everybody, and make sure that we get the mechanistic insight that supports the progression. And from them, they get to also bring in a biological model. I mean, historically, people have used mouse models, and here we're using a human cellular model to understand mechanism and identify biomarkers that can help them through clinical trial progression. So everybody's very excited and supportive.
Well, we'll be following it closely, that's sure. Now, NeuroKaire is a female-led startup. Do you think that companies like yours in a space that have been largely dominated by male-led companies might change the way women are involved and succeed in the field in which you are one of the leaders?
I feel like being a female founder and a double female founded company with no male co-founders has the kind of effect that I'm used to seeing in academia. You don't know exactly where the effect is going to be, but you hope it's there and it's large and it spreads. And it permeates into, in that case, the literature, and here it permeates into society. We have, just from our example, a lot of people, other women have come to us, as role models. We have lots of women who've joined the company. We have more women than men in this company, and lots of people who use this as an example to themselves to be braver, to put themselves forward, to push themselves forward. So I think we can only help through people we touch, but obviously if we hit the big time, we may be able to touch more people, I guess, through our example.
So I have to ask, before we conclude, what's been your biggest achievement? We've talked about some. What's been your biggest achievement since starting the company?
So just around a month ago, we have not even put out the press release, so this is exciting new information. We received our regulatory approval for our test, which means we are now allowed to help people in the United States. We are now allowed to help people suffering from depression to give them a better therapy and a better chance of success. And that's the most important. And obviously, once we start helping thousands of millions of lives, that will be the true reward. But we're very excited to now be able to bring this test to people's lives today.
Well, that ties in nicely, really. All of your forward-looking and your cutting-edge endeavors. It ties in nicely to what you said earlier, that the concept of tikkun olam, which is really what this is about. You said you want to help people with depression, making the world a better place. I think it ties in nicely to have that mission, and then the more direct mission of coming up with the drugs that can help people. So that's we're always looking for, people talk about tikkun olam, and it means a lot of different things to different people. But here's a case where it's pretty sure that we know what we're doing, and it's to help people every day of their lives. Well, you can find out more about Dr. Talia Cohen Solal and NeuroKaire's pioneering work at neurokaire.com. I'm going to spell it NeuroKaire.com. Dr. Cohen Solal, the work you're leading at NeuroKaire is the future of personalized drug treatment and will undoubtedly improve countless lives and communities along the way. We thank you again for being here with us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Well, that's it for today's episode of the Conversations with B'nai B'rith podcast. Thank you to my guest, Dr. Talia Cohen Solal, for joining us, and to you for tuning in to our show. Remember, conversation doesn't end here. Share this episode with others, post about it on social media, or leave us a comment or a rating. We love hearing from you. For all of our latest content, and if you haven't already, follow or subscribe to Conversations with B'nai B'rith wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and like us on Facebook. Stay tuned for more exciting content in our next episode. Until then, for my guest, Dr. Talia Cohen Solal, this is your host, Dan Mariaschin. Take care, everyone.